G'day you mob, Pete here, and this is another episode of Aussie English, the number one place for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So today I have a Goss episode for you where I sit down with my old man, my father, Ian Smisson, and we talk about the week's news, whether locally down under here in Australia or non-locally overseas in other parts of the world. Okay, and we sometimes also talk about whatever comes to mind, right? If we can think of something interesting to share with you guys related to us or Australia, we also talk about that in the Goss. So these episodes are specifically designed to try and give you content about many different topics where we're obviously speaking in English and there are multiple people having a natural and spontaneous conversation in English. So it is particularly good to improve your listening skills. In order to complement that though, I really recommend that you join the podcast membership or the academy membership at aussieenglish.com.au, where you will get access to the full transcripts of these episodes, the PDFs, the downloads, and you can also use the online PDF reader to read and listen at the same time. Okay, so if you really want to improve your listening skills fast, get the transcript, listen and read at the same time, keep practicing, and that is the quickest way to level up your English. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on a bit. I've been talking a bit. Let's just get into this episode, guys. Smack the bird, and let's get into it.
G'day, you mob. Welcome to the Goss.
How's it
Dad
going?
And Pete.
Yeah, it's
The
Dad,
Dad
and
and Pete show. Yeah.
They'll meet you in public and they'll be like, "What's up, Dad?"
What's up, Dad? Yeah, well, as we said in the previous episode, dads don't have all dads and all mums have the same first name.
That's it. So, what is the story? What's the Goss?
Every year there's every year for the last sort of 15 or 16 years, there has been Australia's favourite bird. And 50 birds get shortlisted by somebody, I don't know who, and the list goes out, and then there's a popular vote for which one is to win. And this year's one came out about a week ago.
They go through a certain number of rounds, don't they, where they knock out...
It's the devil take the hindmost thing of they drop the bottom 10, and then the voting continues, and they drop the next 10, and eventually you get the top 10, and that becomes the final list.
So the superb fairy wren.
Superb fairy wren,
yes,
or the blue wren, as it has often been called.
Yeah, a lot of my friends were bummed out. They were hoping for either the tawny frogmouth, which I think came second, or the pelican, which got chucked out a few rounds earlier.
Pelican dropped off fairly quickly, yeah. So
the superb fairy wren. Do you reckon it was a worthy winner?
They're all worthy winners because if you look at the top 10, they all have a reason to exist in the list. Some of them, I don't know whether you want to go through the whole list, but certainly the top 10. But some of them are there because they're either rare or endangered, and so on, and so they have some sort of esoteric value. Others are just there because everybody knows them, and certainly in southeastern Australia, everybody knows the superb fairy wren. Most people call it the blue wren.
Do you want to describe it
because
for
the male
listeners
have
who may not
a
know?
dark blue and light blue head on it. Fairy wrens, they're about this sort of size, 8 to 10 centimeters tall.
You can be pretty certain any animal that has the description
the word fairy
is
is small. Yes, exactly.
Small.
The fairy elephant.
That's it, exactly. They weren't big fairy. Fairies tended to be little small mythical creatures. But so the fairy wren won with almost 14,000 votes.
Almost 14,000 votes.
Then we had the tawny frogmouth.
Tawny frogmouth, yes.
The gang cockatoo. I could read out a few of these and maybe we talk about favourite ones out of these. So what have we got? The gang
I voted for the gang cockatoo.
These are these cockatoos with red heads. Well, the
males have red heads.
Right? Yeah.
Adult males have red heads, yeah.
The galah was fourth.
Yeah.
Australian brush turkey. I always thought bush turkey. Yeah. They're a pain in the ass.
yeah, from Queensland.
Just raiding campgrounds.
They're just giant chooks, basically, raiding campgrounds and backyards, and
they taste horrible, right? Because they're clearly not.
Because they're still around. Yeah,
exactly. No one's chucking them on the menu.
Yeah. Sorry for looking away. I'm reading off another screen.
Yeah, there were a few good ones though. Region honeyeater, the Gouldian.
That's an extremely endangered. They look like there's only 200 and something birds left in the wild.
The Gouldian finch. This is beautiful. You can own these.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I was looking through these and I was thinking the only one of these birds that I have not photographed is the Gouldian finch.
They live in arid environments, don't they, in the north?
They live in
top end.
Right there, the top end. They're in the top of the Northern Territory.
Mm-hmm.
I've never even seen one in the wild.
Well, you don't have to see one in the wild. Just get your camera. We can go to the pet store in Geelong, and they got them there, and take a photo.
Yeah,
of them
I know it's not quite the same.
Knock it off the list.
Not quite the same.
And we got the laughing.
The bars on the picture. The Gouldian finch in jail. Yeah.
You'll have to just take like a little. You get a computer, put a different screen on it, hold it behind it, and then just be like, boom, knock him off the list.
Knock it off the list. Yeah.
And what have we got? Laughing kookaburra, the magpie, and the peregrine falcon.
Yes.
So, out of all these, which do you think should have been the winner?
Well, I voted for, so that probably gives me an inherent bias. I voted for the Gang cockatoo just because they're one of my favourite birds. And I've got for anybody who's interested, self-promotion, I've got a YouTube video on photographing Gang cockatoos because they're just cute birds. They have this really cool. All cockatoos have a really cool call. Some go from the completely raucous to others that are a little more chatty, but the Gang cockatoo's sort of nickname is the squeaky door bird because they have this sort of call that goes.
I'll see if I can find it whilst you're talking about it. I'll see if I can get it up on YouTube.
And because they're sexually dimorphic, which a lot of birds are not.
Do you want to explain what that means?
Yeah, it means that males and females, adult males and females look different. A lot of birds sort of are, but they're minuscule. Like galahs, there's a change in eye colour between them. So from a distance of more than about 10 metres, you couldn't tell a male from a female. But Gang cockatoos, the males have this really bright red head, and the females don't have the bright red head, but they have a breast and chest of sort of yellow and orange stripes. So they're really cool-looking birds. And all parrots are cool, and cockatoos are great anyway. So they're one of my favourites. So.
See if I can play this from Tim Sigg's YouTube channel. I don't know if it'll... Is that playing? Can you hear that?
I can't, no.
Ah, lame. It'll be playing through my speakers.
It'll be playing in the background.
It's going to be playing to you. What I can probably do, cheekily...
Hey, I might be able to find one.
Hold on.
I can cheat. I can find it on my phone. That's probably copyright.
Hold on. Wait, I've taken it off. Put it on display audio. Yeah, they do sound like a squeaky door.
Yeah. They're really cool. And they don't tend to hang around in big flocks, but you often get sort of a pair, male and a female, or a family grouping if it's post-breeding, because the youngsters hang around for a while with them, and so you'll find them just chatting to each other up in the tops of trees. So the view you typically get of a Gang cockatoo is looking straight up its backside, which is not the most attractive view. But if you get them in low, branches and things, they're really cute.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
And they're our smallest cockatoo, or smallest black cockatoo. The galah's a bit smaller. It's another cockatoo, but
so they're interesting. So the males are the colourful ones here. They're the red heads, and the females are sort of just drab black.
Yeah, except they've got the orange and yellow stripes on their chest. So.
Okay. But it's the eclectus parrot, right, from northeastern Australia that's the inverted. So that's
the inverted one. Yeah, the male is the green and the female is bright red and blue.
Yeah, I need to know more about... I need to look into the biology of these guys, but I do remember that being one of these examples where generally the males are in animal species tend to be more colourful or exuberant, like the peacock is the classic example, right? So that it shows off all of its colours to the females, and it tends to be that quite often in the case of the peacock, having all these beautiful feathers is a massive burden to the animal. So that any animal that has really good colours and really nice feathers has obviously done well at surviving and getting enough resources that it's going to be a good father. I think what's the other example? There's a American bird with a massive tail, right? That has like this meter-long tail that it has to fly with through the air, and it's just a massive hindrance for the bird. But the fact that it's a hindrance shows to other females that bird, whichever bird has the longest tail, is obviously the fittest. It's so funny because these things are kind of redundant. You're kind of like, well, if it didn't have to have the tail, it would actually do better. Yeah. But the females wouldn't know which one to choose.
It's about sexual selection, is that in these cases where it's the females who are choosing males in order to reproduce. then the male has to be able to demonstrate their fitness,
Yeah.
fitness in the biological sense of able to produce more offspring, more successful offspring. Means that they have to have that way of showing off. So the peacock's tail, as you said, is a classic example and something that it's the biggest show off you can imagine. It's basically saying, choose me.
See me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't know. I'd probably pick the magpie, man. It's funny, Kel and I have a love-hate relationship with the magpie. Well, in general, but with the magpie, she hates them. And I see them as just phenomenal parents. They're just being very protective.
Well, they're swooping birds. They'll actually swoop and they literally attack people.
There was a photo going around the other day. I'll have to try and send it to friends to show you guys, where a guy was on his bike and his cheek was being pinched.
He's one of my Facebook friends. He's a local down here. Yeah, Pete Marinator.
Oh, too funny. So, he was apparently
now, whether it was him,
around.
I can't remember whether it was him, because I just looked very quickly, whether it was actually him or whether it was a photo that he found, but I think it was him. So, the birds.
So that they are brutal.
I want to know how he got the shot. Riding a bike with your phone in front of you waiting.
I have a feeling that he knew that the bird was there and he was like, I'm going to try and get a good shot of me going past it. But it is funny, and I wonder, I'll have to look into the stats, but last year there were probably more people or more humans died as a result of magpies than they did from crocodiles. Because we had at least an old gentleman who fell off his bike after being swooped and died.
Yeah, tragically. It was the baby that died.
And the baby that's mum fell
it.
on it. Yeah, because the magpie attacked it. And so I kept saying to Kel, like, if you go out and about, just put something over the
over the pram.
Yeah, over the pram, yeah, exactly. Don't carry the baby in your arms in swooping country.
Yes,
but it was,
and it's a big thing in southeastern Australia and southwestern Australia where the birds are. Is you see particularly people riding bikes, where they all have little plastic spikes sticking out of their helmet.
Ziplock. What are they called?
Yeah,
again?
the ziplocs. Yeah, zip ties.
Yeah,
sticking out of the top of their helmet to prevent the birds from attacking the helmet. Which I would have thought that was the purpose of the helmet. But I want zip ties around my face and my neck, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. I like magpies. I think they're great.
So do I. They're cool birds and they're great fun. They got one of the most beautiful calls, particularly when they go in a chorus where you get a family of them all singing to each other. It's a classically Australian sound, like the laughing kookaburra, which is that classically Australian sound that you cannot get in. No other bird sounds anything like it.
It's a weird one because I always see it in films that are filmed in jungles, right? And so,
the old Tarzan movies, supposedly in Africa, and they've got peacocks, which are Indian, and kookaburras, which are Australian.
And you're just like, what the hell? Did you just like?
They're exotic noises. Yeah,
I know, but today it's one of those things you can't get away with today because too many people are exposed to these sorts of animals and know. But even now, sometimes you hear the kookaburra in the background, and you're just like, mate, we're watching a movie about the Amazon. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And the other one is there's a frog call that's the nickname for this species of frog is the Hollywood frog because it only occurs around Los Angeles. But it's the classic frog call that you get in all of these movies because it's exotic
and it's easy to get.
It lives in this really small area around the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah, it is funny when you, as a biologist, start to pay attention to those sorts of things, animals and stuff used in films. I was watching Wolf Creek the other day, which is a sort of horror thriller series and set of films in Australia about, effectively based on Ivan Milat, who was the backpack serial killer that was in New South Wales. I think that was at the 90s. So he would effectively abduct backpackers,
hitchhikers,
give them a lift somewhere. Generally, I think quite a few were couples, and he would just kill the guy and do whatever with the woman, and then kill her. And eventually, he got caught and sent to jail. But they based this Wolf Creek on that. So if you guys like horror films and sort of these sort of slasher thriller movies, check it out because it's definitely full of good Australian slang. They've really pumped that into it.
They really Australianised it. Yeah.
And it's hilarious because the actor is the main guy who is I've forgotten his name. The guy that's murdering everyone. He was on Better Homes and Gardens back in the day, which was this sort of like your back garden kind of TV show, right? Yeah. I should do him a favour and look it up.
John Jarratt,
yeah. So he's a great Australian actor. I really like him, and it's funny because you hear him talk normally, and he just sounds like a general Aussie accent. But then when he's in Wolf Creek, it's much
he's
more
really Aussified.
Yeah, how's it going, mate? Yeah, and doing all of the like, oh, it's just a few Sheilas, she'll be right, mate. Really turning it up because it's probably an American audience that loves it. Anyway, I was watching this film and they were in Central Australia, and I saw my master's degree species that I was studying there, and I'm like, it's not found in that area.
They're coastal.
Yeah, they're not found in that area. And I was just thinking,
No.
they've dragged.
But hey,
some
they were
poor
filming.
goanna.
They're actually filming it in Sydney.
Yeah, well, they dragged some poor goanna out, someone's pet, put it in the desert, and then we're like, yeah, this looks right. And
Yes.
it was just funny because you're like, damn it, biology's ruined my film watching experience.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Yeah. Anyway, anything else to add for this episode?
Yeah,
Dad?
so the sort of silly follow-up story to this was that in New Zealand they have a similar one, and there was this sort of controversial story that came out this year about the New Zealand, favourite bird. In the list of finalists, they included a bat, and there's
Why
two
not?
sides to this argument. Why not?
It's
not a bird.
Yeah.
If they called it the most popular flying thing, that's fine. And that's, I sit very clearly on the grumpy old fart scientist side of this that says we have enough problems in our society with people misunderstanding science. But when we deliberately provoke the problem by putting this in, sure, change the competition. Don't call it favourite bird.
And this is one of those broader things. I'm sort of on that too, but this is like the whole trans issue, right? I mean, this is sort of murky water to get into, but the politically correct culture today is just really requiring society to consider trans women, so people who were born male that became women, they need to be considered exactly the same as biological women. And it's that same sort of argument for me, at least, where I'm like, look, I have no problem with them doing or being whoever they are, but don't get me to put them into a category where it's like these two things are not the same. They're different.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing here. I'm sort of the same, where it's like, if it's a bird competition and you put a lizard in there, it's like it's no longer a bird competition.
Exactly.
You either change the name and the rules, or you do not have the lizard in that competition. So.
I know. Yeah, it's the same thing. You sit there and go, which idiot decided this was a good thing to do? And interestingly, the story that I read about it didn't actually say who decided that they were going to put it in there, but I suspect that person has ducked for cover. And if you'll excuse the bird pun there, but
well, and it's one of those things where you kind of like, we got bigger problems surely than to be arguing over whether or not a bat is in the bird competition.
We do, so don't create the problem. Yeah.
Man. And so anyway, it turned out that this bat, was it the long-eared bat?
Long-tailed bat.
Long-tailed, but sorry. Long-tailed
Peka
bat.
Peka Toaroa.
Yeah.
The Maori name for it.
Maori name. So this is the only native mammal to New Zealand, right?
It's not the only one. Bats are the only native mammals. Ironically, in the story, they said the only native land mammals, because they have seals and sea lions. They don't have seals in New Zealand, neither do we in Australia, but we have sea lions or eared seals. And you look at it and go, this isn't a land animal. It hangs around in trees and it flies. It never actually, if it hits the ground, it's dead.
Yeah. I guess it depends. It depends on how, terrestrial. But it is weird that if you say it's a terrestrial animal, a bat's a terrestrial animal, or a bird is, but a seal that comes up on
isn't around. A seal spends 99% of its life
lying on the beach.
On land.
Exactly. But a penguin would be, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, are they Adelie penguins that were in the photo there?
Hang on.
New Zealand looks like they've got a few different species of penguin. I think Australia's only got the little penguin, right?
Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah, New Zealand has lots of little offshore islands and things as well. But their main ones are the little penguin, same as Australia.
Okay. So it's
they call it the blue penguin
the
and the yellow-eyed penguin, which is from the deep south of New Zealand. I've seen them in the wild. They're really cute.
Yeah.
In fact, I was on a beach right on the south of the South Island, as far south as you can go in New Zealand without being on Stewart Island, which is the forgotten third island at the bottom. And your mum and I were just down there, visiting this beach, and I was photographing some oyster catchers, and this yellow-eyed penguin just sort of leapt out of the water and walked about 10 metres away from me, walked straight past me up the beach. Just went, what the? And these are big. Yeah, they're not emperor penguins, but they're much bigger than what we call little penguins. So
you've just blown my mind. I'm looking at a map here and I'm like, holy crap, New Zealand is 3 islands.
Yeah.
I thought it was
3 major islands. Obviously, it's got lots of little ones. But
mind blown. There you go. Stewart Island down the bottom is like
exactly.
This. It's like
so we have the North Island, the South Island, and the far South Island.
Yeah, far out. So yeah, New Zealand was this really interesting country or I guess series of islands because it had no land mammals besides flying bats, right? So before European colonization, although I don't know if the Maoris or the Polynesians brought pigs or anything like that with them when they came over, but prior to human settlement of the island, and the Maoris only arrived about 1,000 years ago, right?
Less than that.
There were no mammals there. So it is a really interesting sort of place in terms of wildlife, and I think they have a lot of issues biologically or ecologically with invasive species like the brush-tailed possum is a big problem there, and I think they also have not ferrets. What are the smaller ones than ferrets? Minks? No, even smaller than minks. Stoats.
Yeah.
Stoats are a big problem there too because the native wildlife that lives there is very naive to predators, having not evolved in the presence of all these other species, and so these beautiful species like the kiwi and the kakapo, this huge parrot, right, which lives on the ground, I think, the kakapo.
Yes, yeah.
They, and the kia as well, have no real defense against rats and these other species. And I think that was a big problem with I don't know if it was the kia or the kakapo, but the rats were eating the eggs in their net, which tends to be a big issue on a lot of these islands. Lord Howe Island had the same problem with their birds being
kiwis as well,
predated
which
upon.
Obviously, non-flying birds.
It is one. Yeah, I need to look more into that. It's like, how the hell did that thing end up there?
Yeah,
because is it a ratite? Which is the family that ostrich.
Well, again, depends on which classification you read. I think some people say it is, some people say it's different enough that it should be classified by itself. But they also had moas, which are like giant emus. These monster birds that were 3 meters tall, 3.5 meters tall.
Well, and they should still be there, but for the fact that they were hunted to extinction by the Maori, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. You get these giant walking burgers.
That's it. Hey, food source.
They don't fly. And they're not aggressive.
Well, and if you want to see something really cool, look up mummified moa, M-O-A claw, and they found the claw of one of these giant moas with skin and everything on it, and it looks like a velociraptor foot with these huge claws.
They are. Birds are living dinosaurs, so...
Yeah, and they had an eagle there, right, too, the world's largest eagle, I think, prior to... And they would have been predating upon, I think, the moa. They were killing the moa, and that was why they went extinct after the moa went.
If you eat baby moas and there are no moas, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. So it is nuts. I would love to go there just to see some of the wildlife.
New Zealand's a spectacular place. I love it. I think I've used this story before that, I've got so many American friends and relatives, and with all due respect to all my friends and American friends and relatives, Americans have this sort of, in some cases, admirable parochialism that I joke about with them and say, look, you guys were all born with a tattoo on your head that said I was born in the greatest country in the world, and trust me, you weren't. Go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to say that because I'm not a New Zealander, so I'm not being parochial about it. It is the most amazing place.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to do it. I've only been to the.
So after you come to Australia, have a little holiday in New Zealand.
Yeah, I've only been to the airport. I think it was Auckland, right, on the way to France or something.
No, it was on the way to the US.
Yeah.
We went.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that's probably enough for this episode.
Yeah, even I'm not boring you, am I?
No.
No.
Just long nights with my daughter at the moment.
Yeah.
Not as long as my wife's nights. Anyway.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.
Alrighty, you mob, thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode of The Goss. If you would like to watch the video, if you're currently listening to it and not watching it, you can do so on the Aussie English channel on YouTube. You'll be able to subscribe to that. Just search Aussie English on YouTube. And if you're watching this and not listening to it, you can check this episode out also on the Aussie English podcast, which you can find via my free Aussie English podcast application on both Android and iPhone. You can download that for free. or you can find it via any other good podcast app that you've got on your phone. Spotify, podcasts from iTunes, Stitcher, whatever it is. I'm your host, Pete. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a ripper of a day, and I will see you next time. Peace!